Our USA adventure continued from Chicago aboard Amtrak's California Zephyr, rated as the #1 most scenic train in the United States of America. The journey aboard the Zephyr takes approximately 2 full days and travels a distance of over 2,400 miles, or around 3,900 kilometers, all the way from Chicago out to near San Francisco on the west coast. Along the way, we will pass over the midsection of America with lots of farming, and then over the Rocky Mountains in the state of Colorado, and finally, we'll climb up and over the Sierra Nevada mountains on the way into the state of California. All the cars on the California Zephyr are bi-level. All the sleeping accommodations and other public areas are upstairs, bathrooms downstairs. We were staying in a roomette, which is the smallest of Amtrak's bedrooms. Downstairs, you see that we have 2 chairs and a table that folds down. Great big window for taking videos and such. Here we see the upper bunk, which is lowered down from the ceiling for night use, and then the 2 chairs and fold-down table below are converted into another bed. One of our 2 favorite places on the train was, of course, the dining car. Along with the roomette, all of our meals were included in the price, and so I decided to go for the Amtrak signature sirloin steak. I recommended it to Jonatán, and he was not disappointed. Our other favorite place is the sightseeing lounge, where you can take a lot of great pictures and videos out the big windows. And there's tables in case you want to go downstairs to the snack bar. And also in the evening, you can meet other people, chat with them, and play cards. It's a great place to hang out and meet people. Always happens on Amtrak. Our Amtrak adventure began in Chicago Union Station at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. As you can see, we were on board for the next 18 hours, arriving in Denver at 8 a.m. the next morning. We had a chance to have a great steak dinner in the dining room, as well as a big breakfast the next morning before arriving on time in Denver, Colorado. As our train departed from Chicago Union Station, the first 3 or 4 minutes were spent underground. You see us coming out of the tunnels, if you would now. All the trains enter and depart from the station underground, and we still had a few more bridges and tunnels and so forth to go under. Here you can see some of the suburban trains, double-deckers, which serve the suburbs south and west of Chicago, which is our general direction as we head down towards the Mississippi River. As we headed across the farmland of Illinois on our way to the Mississippi River, our last stop before the river was going to be Galesburg, Illinois. I had prepared a banner for me and Jonathan to hop off the train and show it to the webcam there. A bunch of rail fans are watching the live stream of the trains pulling in and out of various stations, and so we made a Hello Virtual Rail Fans banner and hoped to get on the video feed on the webcam and maybe even get some internet fame, because they usually post a daily summary of all the different interesting things they saw in the different rail cams around the country. Here we can see the California Zephyr pulling into Galesburg, Illinois. This was our last stop after our departure from Chicago before heading on in across the Mississippi River and into the state of Iowa on our way to Denver. After the train pulls in, we'll take a quick look at how it consists. You'll see that there's 1, 2, 3 sleeping cars. Yeah, I just see the third one just as the guy pulls in. As he pulls back, you'll see there's an observation car, and then there's 2 more coach glass cars in the back. We had already walked back in the train from our sleeper and are walking out right now from that coach that you see closest to the camera. That way we could get on up to where the camera would have an unobstructed view of our smiling faces and poster that I made, which we should be coming right up. Yeah, we're walking up towards the camera right now. You can see it's just on the right side there. And Jonatán's taller than me. You should be able to spot him. There we go. All right. So anyway, we're just waving at the camera, and he obviously picks us up. He knew we were coming because we had already posted on the live chat that we would be there that day, and gave him a heads up on when we'd be or where we'd be standing. So there you go. About an hour after leaving Galesburg, we started to cross the Mississippi River, and I say started because it takes a solid 2 minutes, more or less, to go across. And it's a very long river, very broad, as you can see, but also very long, over 3,700 kilometers, stretching from the northernmost border of the United States with Canada, and basically bisects the United States of America all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico and Louisiana. It's the watershed and drainage for the central section of America. And it's also, this particular bridge is a swing bridge. The center section will swing out perpendicular, there you see the structure there, to the bridge so that taller vessels, ships or barges can go on through the bridge. And on the other side, we just entered the state of Iowa, and we'll swing around the corner into Burlington, Iowa. As we pulled out of Burlington, Iowa, we get a great view, not so much out the window, but of the sightseeing lounge itself. You can see the great big windows out of which we shot a lot of the video on this travelogue. You also see it's a great place to hang out, meet friends, play cards, have snacks, and so on. One of our favorite places to hang out, besides the dining car, of course. Leaving Burlington, Iowa, we headed on west across the Great Plains of Iowa, and we headed on over. As you can see, we're not in the sightseeing lounge anymore because it looks like we're going backwards. We're now sitting on the opposite side of the train in the dining car, where they'll seat you next to people that you haven't even met before. This, I think, is a unique American thing because Americans are so friendly. They can easily strike up a conversation and get to know somebody that they never met before just because they're sitting across the table. In this particular case, our seatmate was named Bob. You'll see him in the lower left-hand corner now. He's not an apparition. He's just flickering in and out because of the shadows. He's from the state of Arizona, so he was eager to know if we were going to visit the Grand Canyon there, and we assured him that we would after we finished our trip out to the Zephyr. Later, we all met in the sightseeing lounge, where, as you can see, there's tables for playing card games and whatnot. He had a deck of cards from the Monopoly game. I didn't know that Monopoly had even made a card game. So we went and played that for a while. Jonatán was very, very quick to pick it up. They stayed up much later than I. I decided to retire early. I'm not sure how long they stayed up, but I'm sure Jonatán, being young, could handle it. And so we got some sleep, and that's about it for our first day. When we pick up our story, we'll be pulling into Denver, Colorado at 8 a.m. the next morning. As the train pulled into Fort Morgan, Colorado, the last stop before it reaches Denver, a rail fan named Mike comes out to video it every single morning, rain or shine.
184 and number 4. Mr. Rick at the 6.
I was going to try and figure out a way to pop out the side door of the train and at least wave at him or say something nice, but I think we were too busy scarfing down a really great Amtrak breakfast. After a quick station stop, we were on our way again, heading in across the eastern plain, or the Front Range as they call it, coming to Denver. The Rocky Mountains start west of Denver. It's pretty much farmland until you get into the station and leave there heading west. As we approached Denver Union Station, it turned out that we needed to have the train turned around and backed in because it's a dead-end station like many stations in Europe, so there's no way to go actually through the station. So they do that in order to get it turned around in the right direction for departure. We were hoping when we got off the train to meet our friend Mike Payne on the platform, a missionary who I served with for many years in Hungary, And so as soon as the train came to a stop, we disembarked, and there we found Mike. A quick picture of us on the platform, and another picture of the Denver Union Station front. Beautiful old station. After saying goodbye to Mike, we headed up to the sightseeing lounge for the 8-hour journey west across the Rocky Mountains. It's an extremely popular viewing point, so we were glad to get a table there and be prepared for the next 8 hours of incredible scenery.
Enjoy it. Enjoy everything else. I just want to finish.
As you can see from the map, the Rocky Mountain Range actually extends from the northern part of Canada all the way to the southwest portion of the United States. It's a distance of about 5,000 kilometers or 3,000 miles. We will be traversing it on our journey from the east to the west across the state of Colorado.
That first tunnel, Tunnel 1, is unique because its east portal faces west and its west portal faces east, as opposed to a normal tunnel, which everybody knows has the east portal facing east and the west portal facing west. But that tunnel has the west portal facing east and the east portal facing west because of the circuitous nature of our track. So as our train travels from east to west, we'll go through the tunnel from west to east, even though we go through the east portal to the west portal. Thank you. And we are now starting into the tunnel district. We're going to go through 26 tunnels in just 12 short miles. As we do, we're going to start by weaving through the Flatirons formations. These are sedimentary sandstone rocks that were created as the beach and shallows of an inland sea, and then 50 million years ago were thrust on end. The railroad weaves its way through here and makes a stunning view. Most people like to look off to the right to this huge expanse and 1,500-foot cliff below us. But I do encourage you to also, on occasion, look left and up, because only in doing that will you be able to get a true appreciation of the majestic majesty of these massive monoliths of stone.
After several hours of climbing up through the mountains with the many amazing vistas, we came upon a level section which is the approach to the eastern entrance of the Moffat Tunnel. Completed in 1928, the tunnel is 10 kilometers long and is 2,800 meters above sea level at its highest elevation. It passes underneath the Continental Divide. All of the rain falling on the east of the divide flows east to the Atlantic Ocean. Any rain falling on the west flows west to the Pacific Ocean. After exiting the Moffat Tunnel, we began our slow descent down the western side of the Rockies. Because we are now on the western side of the Continental Divide, all the waters flow westward, forming creeks and then rivers, and eventually will flow into the Pacific Ocean. As we continued on down the western side of the Rocky Mountains, you see that the Colorado River, which we've been following for some time now, has gotten wider and some rocky rapids in there, and also it's gotten brown. And the brown color comes primarily from silt and sand which flows down from the sides of the canyon on into the river.
It's getting a bit too much. I'm gonna stop it for this. Pardon? I'm gonna stop the recording. It's getting a bit too much.
One of the highlights or lowlights, depending on your perspective, on a trip on the Zephyr is a place on the Colorado River where people have been known to show us the moon, so to speak. Let's go see if we get a moonrise on this pass through the canyon.
Really?
We finished our journey through the Rocky Mountains in the late afternoon, and we spent the rest of the evening and night traveling west across the state of Utah. The landscape here is much more arid and mostly level, with the exception of the buttes and mesas. As you can see here, a butte is an isolated hill with steep sides and a small flat top. Here we see a mesa, which is the opposite of a butte. The top is much wider than the height of the sides. Both of these are created through weathering and erosion and are quite common in Utah. You won't see any trees on them, just some ground vegetation here and there. After crossing the state of Nevada during the night, we awoke to the presence of pine trees again, as the Zephyr began its climb up and over the Sierra Nevada mountains. This mountain range is a narrower one than the Rockies, with a gradual climb up to the summit, and then a steep downgrade on the other side into the state of California. As we continued our ascent to the summit, we passed through a section of a seemingly unending forest of pine trees, and Jonathan thought it was his favorite part of the trip on the Zephyr. You see, there are two kinds of beauty. There is the kind where the vistas are beautiful over a large area, like our 8-hour journey over the Rocky Mountain range. And then there are the ooh-ah kind that are more intense, and the Sierras are definitely of the ooh-ah kind.
Here's normally the highest point. Still that highest elevation.
The downhill descent on the west side of the Sierras is so steep, it requires the train to use a lot of switchbacks to keep the speed down, but that just gave us even more time to enjoy this beautiful pine forest. After our descent from the Sierras, we crossed a large section of farmland. The water for the crops is supplied primarily from the snowmelt that comes off of the Sierras in the spring. This snowmelt not only provides water for irrigation in Northern California, it also provides the water supply for Southern California. Well, after 3 days, 2 nights, and a journey of over 2,300 miles, or 3,700 kilometers, we arrived at our destination of Sacramento, California. While it is impossible to capture such an epic journey in a 20-minute video, I hope you were able to get a glimpse into our once-in-a-lifetime experience. From here, we flew down to San Diego for the next part of our USA adventure.